Just a year ago, I was living in LA and I wanted to escape so badly. I was stressed out, burnt out, and lonely. And moving out here to what I would call a rural small town in Arizona felt really far away and kind of impossible. I couldn't move here fast enough, and part of me wasn't sure if this was real or not, if this life I've dreamed up was just a fantasy. Now that I've lived here for an entire year, I want to share all of the things that have changed in my life since leaving. The life I was imagining is real and is attainable. So in this video, I'm going to take you along and show you what an average day in the life looks like for me. We're here at the Founding Fathers Collective. It's the best coffee place in all of town. They also do beer on tap and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I got myself a chai latte and a cherry cobbler. I usually come here in the mornings to work and we talk about the podcast here. And it's just a really beautiful, calm, tranquil place. A year ago, I wanted nothing more than to be left completely alone. I was sick and tired of being around people. The constant hustle and bustle of the city was really stress-inducing for me, and I was completely uninspired. The city, especially LA, can tend to look pretty ugly and oppressive, and since I grew up there, I felt like I had explored everything that was to be explored. Now I get to literally work next to a creek. It's very peaceful. It's not overcrowded like it is in the city, and the people here are really friendly. Me and Vincent like to go hiking together sometimes. It's not something that we could have easily done back home in LA, and the hiking trails were just not that great unless you're willing to pay an arm and a leg for parking, and you have to drive about 30 minutes to an hour just to get to a proper hiking trail. We live basically 5 minutes away from some of the best hiking trails we've ever seen. This is basically our backyard. Something that I really love about living here is that there's this sense of tradition and heritage that doesn't really exist in LA. There's all this construction that's happening in the city constantly. A lot of the things I grew up with when I was little aren't there anymore, whereas here there are buildings from the 1800s, and I don't know, I really like living in a place with history. It's no Roman statue, but there's a charm into itself of these really beautiful Western buildings. It's super inspiring, and it kind of makes you feel like home, like you belong here in a way. When we were really stressed out in the past year, it was really helpful to be in this place and feel like all our problems are really small and insignificant. In the city, it's almost like it's encouraged for you to dwell on things that really aren't that important in the larger scheme of things. Today I am making a vegan cauliflower curry. Probably don't know this about me, but I really love cooking. I kind of gave it up when I was working in Hollywood because I didn't have the time or energy to devote to some of my more useless hobbies, I guess you could call them. I don't know if you can relate, but when you're really stressed out and tired, you tend to want a lot of dopamine, so you grab whatever's nearby and enjoyable to eat. I can spend hours of my day learning how to cook new meals. I've been able to save a lot of money that way, and it's a lot healthier for me. To work on the house a little bit every single day. It doesn't happen every day because I'm trying to take my time with it. Trying to finish a DIY house project every single week is unrealistic and can burn you out really quickly. I'm all about that slow living lifestyle these days. The less stress, the better. Something I didn't really know how to put into words until I moved out here and lived here for a year is I feel like the reason why we all tend to be really lonely in America is because we are individualists. We prioritize working and getting ahead in life, which causes us to be pretty wealthy compared to other countries. And we celebrate this aspect of being American so much that we don't even realize there are some pretty negative side effects. like neglecting friends and family. So yes, we can end up wealthy one day, but with no one to really share it with. Meanwhile, I've noticed that a lot of people in much poorer countries in the United States tend to be a lot happier. So why is that if money is supposed to equal happiness? Well, I've noticed people from other countries tend to have deeper relationships with their friends and family than people who grew up in the United States. When I talk to people like my parents, for example, who are immigrants from China, they often talk about how there's no real upward mobility in these countries. The only way to get ahead is connections. It is your friends and your family and the people you're born with. It's actually really difficult to do things like get a job or go anywhere in life unless you maintain your relationships. And these relationships are the ones you have because you were born with them. You can't just go and make friends with someone who's not in your social class. So yes, they tend to be happier because they have deeper connections with people, but sometimes it can be really toxic if taken too far. I didn't realize it at the time. I was kind of just running on gut instinct, but I basically decided to choose the best of both worlds. Because I live in America and I have no intention of leaving the country, I can choose to move to a place that does prioritize community and friendships and slowing down and it being okay to live a more slow-paced life rather than the city where we're all hyper go, individualists, we only care about ourselves. Yes, choosing to move to a slower-paced town has contributed to my overall happiness, but it has less to do with the slowness of living and more to do with this deeper sense of community that I naturally feel here. But it's not all that it's cracked up to be like you usually see online. Like clearly I'm not wearing beautiful linen dresses and frolicking with the deer every single day. My life, as you can see, is a lot more mundane than that, and it can be a difficult transition at times because I didn't move here with friends or family already existing. I had to make all of that. A lot of people who move out to live in a more rural town tend to romanticize this life and really showcase the cottage-core-ness of this aesthetic, but to really live here is not exactly like that. If you don't have an existing network, friends, family, whoever to bond with, it can get pretty lonely. And you'll probably struggle with fitting in. It's funny because I grew up in California and Arizona is literally just the state next door, but people treat you completely differently when they know you're from not here. Specifically, they'll treat you differently if they know you're from California because everyone hates Californians right now for some reason. I think it's an awful trait of humanity that people want to celebrate our differences and alienate people who are just trying to exist rather than just be friendly and welcoming. So in the evenings, I tend to come in here and practice music. We're currently working on a new song where I have this pretty complicated drum thing that I need to work on. My dexterity sucks, so I'm trying my best. One of the most unexpected things I experienced this past year was exactly how much my health has improved. It's kind of amazing how much stress actually affects your life. When I was a workaholic, when I was miserable in my job in Hollywood, I was having physical health issues. I was throwing up, I was fainting, I was gaining weight. So many things were happening to me that if I were to go to the doctor, and actually I have gone to the doctor and I've had friends who've gone to the doctor with these exact same symptoms, and the doctor just basically says there's nothing wrong with you. Because when you do tests, there technically is nothing wrong with you, but you are feeling these physical symptoms and you have no idea what to do about it. In the city, there was nothing really I could do about it. I was so stressed out just by existing there. I was living with a baseline amount of stress that I didn't know was not normal and not healthy. When I came here, I immediately lost weight. I sleep better. All of my aches and pains in my body, gone. Completely gone. Stress is a very real thing. It can physically harm you. It's probably taking years off your life right now if you're living in the city. No matter where I go in life after this, I can't imagine ever using stress to hurt myself like that ever again. I am not going back to that life. I'm curious to know what my life is going to look like in the future. I don't know if I'm going to live here until I'm old and gray. I might not, who knows. But I do know that I do not regret taking a chance to move here. This rural, small little town has taught me how to truly live again. So if you were like me a few years ago, really romanticizing this life and wondering if it really is all that it's cracked up to be, I would say it is, at least for me. Especially when you're young, you should take take the chance and try it out for a little while. You can always move back, the city will always be there, but I definitely don't regret it. This has probably been one of the best life decisions I've ever made for myself.